We are here. This is LTMB. You know what? I think we have been on mute the whole time.
Yeah, check it.
Yeah, we've been on mute the whole time.
Okay. Look at you, just start over.
Yeah. So, all right. Our apologies, everybody. We were on mute. I think the wrong function was enabled, but we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, we were just speaking about, I don't know where we left off, but Mike was just talking about certain things that was happening
Yeah,
over
some
the
of the things
weekend.
that would just happen over the weekend that made me feel good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? One of those things was watching Benzino, like to call him
Benzino.
Ben Shapiro.
Right.
I really enjoyed seeing him get destroyed, using one of his terms. I liked seeing him get destroyed on the BBC.
He was a little frazzled. That's what I said. He got a little frazzled, a little uncomfortable.
A little triggered, you might want to say.
You could say triggered.
Yeah, you're like, so yeah, I enjoyed seeing that. The second thing I enjoyed seeing was Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi, okay.
Kawhi Leonard.
Some NBA action.
Some in-game drama.
Yeah.
Toronto versus Philly.
Historic.
He hit the first ever Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history.
Right.
So that was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then you know what usually happens. When you are on a high, what happens? You come back down. The real world sets in. The crash.
Yeah.
Because you pay attention to the news. And you see that the United States might be creeping back to the dark ages. You know what I'm saying, with these abortion bills.
Right.
And then you got your boy, John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, stressing me out.
Trying to get us into a needless war.
They're trying to, a little skirmish. And they're doing it in a really weird way. Like, we're going to send people over there to make sure y'all don't do nothing to us. Like, what? They
haven't threatened.
Like, I'm gonna come over to your house to make sure you don't mess with me, dude.
Yeah.
That's what they doing.
But that's not aggressive.
Not at all. That's not aggressive at all.
It's just to defend our nation.
Just to defend our nation.
Yeah.
What's the other thing that got me kind of wilding out over here? Joe Biden. His senility is just popping everywhere, man. I can't remember how he said it, but like his whole premise surrounding getting rid of Trump surrounds Republicans coming back to their senses. Did you hear what he said? He said, if we get rid of Trump, Republicans are going to start acting right. They're going to start drinking act right juice. Just all of a sudden because Trump is gone. So I'm like, man, you just destroy my weekend, dude.
Like
you
in what
destroy my damn
regard
weekend,
would
bro.
Republicans start acting, I guess, sane again? Because I think we've discussed this since before the 2016 election. Trump is exactly what Republicans are. They're the same. They just have different styles. Trump is very much more overt and like his style is just very blatant in your face. It's hard to ingest, but the agenda is one and the same.
Trump is a good example of how party affiliation doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Ideology does.
Yeah, it is.
And, people always like to point out, well, he was a Democrat before you. He was nothing. He was nothing. He added a personal agenda. He was selfish, narcissistic, and was out for his own interest all the time. And he still is. And he's an authoritarian. He has an authoritarian mindset. He has a controlling mindset. And so he fits into the Republican Party more. So I don't think he's never had a party affiliation. And I don't think he does still. He officially does, but I don't think mentally he does. I just think that his mentality and his his own social leanings causes him to fit in with Republicans, even though he's kind of in this for himself.
But after him though, it may be plausible that Republicans rhetorically would try to come up off of Trump. They might try to distance themselves off of Trump if he's no longer there.
Because you have
to save face and be like, well, yeah, this is the way we got to move forward. And they won't acknowledge, any mistakes or, how their allegiance to him was wrong or anything like that. The agenda will be one and the same. Again, stylistically, it will just be different. But the agenda is one and the same. They have been pushing rightwards for years.
Even the Republican never Trumpers are weak.
Yeah.
They're always just talking about how much of a big meanie he is.
Yup.
But they back all of his policies. And that's where the Republican rationale lies. So when Joe Biden says Republicans will straighten up when Trump goes, essentially he's just talking about rhetoric. He's not talking about policy.
All right. So let's get to some of the program. Again, well, not again, but we are broadcasting live on YouTube, Periscope Live, and Twitch as well. So everybody that's tuning in, thank you for joining us. On YouTube. Please like the stream, share it in your social media profiles. We'd appreciate that. As you alluded to begin the show, the Dark Ages.
Yes.
The Dark Ages.
Come upon us.
Yes. Well,
almost.
It could be.
Could be.
So the Republicans all over the country are attempting to send us back to the Dark Ages in several abortion bills, anti-abortion bills, if you would. So recently we talked about the one in Georgia, which was the Georgia Heartbeat Bill, and I can't remember the exact name of that bill. It was the Life Act. That's what it was, the Life Act.
They all have those names,
yes,
like Protection of Life Act and all that.
That one, though,
or Heartbeat Bill,
was about, that one was a heartbeat bill, and that was when the fetal heartbeat could be detected. That would mean that if an abortion was performed after that event, it would be illegal. So that usually happens around the 5 to 6 week range for pregnant women. This has been tried before. It was tried, actually it was just tried in Ohio as well. That was passed in Ohio recently. It's been passed in other states as well. It's never actually went into law because, of course, it's always been challenged and always been struck down. So the one in Alabama is different. It's not a heartbeat bill. It is now the most restrictive abortion ban in the country. So it is called it's called the Human Life Protection Act, and it was voted on and passed 25-6 in the Alabama Senate on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, Governor Kay Ivey signed it into law.
A woman
signed it into law. Yes. I believe all the 25 that voted for it were all men.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they were all men in the Alabama Senate. So, again, what this bill is about is, again, it's an anti-abortion bill. It outlaws abortions of all kinds. So there's no, 20-week mark. There's no heartbeat bill kind of situation. It pretty much outlaws all abortions except for if the life of the mother is in jeopardy, like ectopic pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. And still, that's that part is really ambiguous.
Oh, yes, it is.
Because, they didn't really consult a lot of medical professionals about that part.
Right.
So that's the problem I have with it. And it's so malleable. Mm-hmm. Most likely, to them, it's going to be on a very extreme end. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what the intent is.
That's the intent. That's definitely the intent.
So the bill does not go into effect until November. So it's about, that's about 4 months away. No, November. So it's about 6 months away. About 6 months. I was thinking September for some reason. So it doesn't go into effect for about 6 months. Before that time period, of course, this is going to be challenged in the court of law. And no doubt there's going to be a lower court that overturns it, that deems it unconstitutional because it interferes with Roe v. Wade, which was settled on, which was ruled constitutional, the right to an abortion in 1973. So what that contends is that a woman should have the right to abortion up until the time that a fetus can live outside of the womb. So this will get in the way of that, definitely. So a court would have to rule that it's constitutional. What these states, Alabama included, are hoping is that their particular law, their case, will make it all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will accept the case and then will have to discuss Roe v. Wade, and at that point may consider overturning it.
They would have to, because they, I guess they have to determine whether this new legislation actually compromises Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they're not going to mention Roe v. Wade in this legislation in order to avoid some sort of constitutional crisis. but with the way the law is set up, it essentially does kind of overturn Roe v. Wade without explicitly saying so.
Because it slaps in the face of Roe v. Wade.
It does.
It makes abortion illegal. And in this country, abortion is legal.
It's like saying like
you'd have to address it.
Say like you need a particular ID to get in a particular building, right? You gotta have this ID to get in this particular building, and the authority that hands out these IDs, they don't really have a legitimate reason, right, to not give you an ID. They just say, we're not going to give these people IDs. And those people say, wait, so I can't go in the building? That's not what we're saying. We're not saying you can't go in the building. We're just saying you can't have the IDs to get you into the building. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing now. It's like, we're not really overturning Roe v. Wade. We're not saying anything about it, but we're doing everything so that we don't have to follow Roe v. Wade.
Right. Which is the law of the land, not just your particular state.
States' rights, dude.
States' rights.
States' rights.
States' rights. So the penalty, since I noted that this would be a crime now, again, this is the most restrictive abortion ban in the country. The penalty. So for health practitioners that do perform abortions in the state of Alabama, they would be subject to up to 99 years in prison. So this would put them on the level of rapists, murderers.
It's felony.
Yeah, it's a felony.
And
the highest felony, the top count felony.
And if there's a felony on your record, or if you I guess, acquire a felony due to conviction, what can't you do? What usually you're restricted from doing, Will?
I'm thinking you're leaning towards the voting process.
Voting process.
Yeah. You will be barred from voting.
You'll be barred from voting. It's almost like I was going to say it's an unintended consequence, but I'm way too pessimistic to even think like that. I think that's one of the intended.
These visionaries, you think they see
as much as we, talk about Republicans, and how irrational they are, they're very rational when it comes to their agenda, though.
Oh, yes.
They have foresight when it comes to that, and I do think that's an intended consequence.
They know the domino
It's probably
process.
going to affect a lot of black women. I think it's going to affect a lot of black women, and they know that. I think the primary targets, though, are white women. I don't want, if you have something to talk about before I get into that, in regard to this subject, it's probably better because that's a long conversation.
Well, the whole, I guess the penalty of the, up to 99 years in prison for these health practitioners, that's definitely a point of emphasis that a lot of people have been talking about. One particular individual is Pat Robertson, who hosts the 700 Club, who is very devout, very religious, very conservative, very bigoted from time to time. But recently, in response to this particular bill in Alabama, he had some things to say about it. So we can show a little clip of his comments.
I think Alabama has gone too far. They've passed a law that would give a 99-year prison sentence to people who could commit abortion. There's no exception for rape or incest. It's an extreme law, and they want to challenge Roe versus Wade. But my humble view is that this is not the case we want to bring to the Supreme Court, because I think this one will lose.
I guess because I've lowered the bar for him, I kind of see that as positive. But that's only because I've lowered the bar for him, and my expectations for him to, I guess, deliver an objective analysis on politics is slightly lower than, most people, right? So, it does sound good on the surface, but if you, pay attention to what he said last, he said it will lose.
Yep.
And
that's what I took away from it. I took away that he went that it would lose.
Not that it's not necessarily he's kind of against,
like that. This is
outlawing
like extreme
abortion.
behavior.
He just thinks that it's a little extreme.
Right.
If it wasn't extreme, he'd be okay with it.
Right. Well, you know what? I'm not even sure that he believes that it's extreme and that it's like, I guess.
Oh, he wants
like
it
an
to.
alternative
He wants
belief
a.
to him. He wants a good bill,
so it won't lose.
so it won't lose.
Oh,
So the effects of this bill, the
his-
negative effects to us, I'm not sure that they're negative effects to him. He just sees the handwriting on the wall that this is too extreme to actually get to the Supreme Court and then be like, yeah,
because
okay,
of the
yeah, okay,
because
yeah.
of there not being any exceptions.
Right.
He's like he's probably like, damn it, man, we only have like one shot or a couple of shots to get this right.
Probably one.
Probably one.
They really believe they probably have one.
So
you want to make it, I guess, as good as possible. And this is way too extreme.
Yeah, he's like, you got to be light and then kind of like strengthen the legislation later, but you can't just go for the gusto now.
True.
Because it's going to get shot down.
Right. So yeah, I don't. He comes off as being like genuine, but I think this is completely disingenuous. I don't think he actually cares.
He doesn't.
No, I don't think
he
so.
doesn't.
No.
Just judging from his history.
Right. I get. Well, let's go into what you were talking about or wanted to get into.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where the primary focus is on white women. I think we've talked about this before. I think it's a bit reductionist to approach this abortion topic or this legislation that outlaws abortion. Just keep it on, patriarchy, controlling women's bodies. As many of my friends have said on social media, kind of uphold this very traditional attitude about sex and sexual morality. I think it goes way deeper than that because they have to have an end game. Everything has an end game, right? The need to control people always has an end game, like goes deeper than just controlling women's bodies or being sexist or being misogynist or upholding patriarchy. There's an end game here. And like, this is me. I could be totally wrong, but I'm just looking at kind of a triangulation of rhetoric, like looking at all the other rhetoric that they, I guess, use politically, right? Tells me that they understand where this country is going demographically. One of the things that I've been, very, very fearful about, Republicans, they've been very fearful about what? Demographic shifts. White women aren't having enough babies, right?
We talked about that before. Yeah.
So what do you do about that? You actually can't control women. No. Not nowadays. They have white women. Everybody's having less babies, not just white women, but white women in particular. If you're talking about demographic shift, right, and the electorate being changed forever, that means that naturally the power that you wield is going to diminish. Naturally, and they're very concerned with that. So what better way to get those demographics up, right? Yeah. What better way to get demographics up, right?
Well, I totally agree with that.
Because we've highlighted on many occasions where Republican representatives have highlighted the fact that we don't have enough white babies.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's Steve King.
The
dude in Arizona.
Yes, I think it's David Stringer.
Yeah, they explicitly say this, like, hey, the demographic changes kind of are affecting our electability. They've always said that, and they've been very explicit about there not being enough white babies for them to kind of keep their power, because that's how they lose power, by demographic shifting and them not having a big voting base. Well, this is a long-range plan, like I said. They have foresight when it comes to their agenda.
And this is an opportune time because they have a conservative lean-in on the Supreme Court now with the addition of Brett Kavanaugh. So this is all planned. Like you said, this is a plan that they have seen, that they have tried to put in the works for some time. And now it's just a matter of the Supreme Court actually picking up the case and, deciding on it and overturning Roe v. Wade.
I think it's hard for people to see that because the focus is on like somebody who, or I guess a group that is perceived to be in the dominant class, which is white women. So it's hard for people to see that, hey, I think this is kind of aimed at white women. And people are like, oh, how? I'm like, to me, it's like, in order to maintain dominance over a country or all groups of people who you see as lesser, then I think it's necessary for you to like dominate over the individuals within your own group as well that you see as lesser, in order to like, I guess, see that reality take place, see that the reality of authoritarianism over an entire country take place. You have to like dominate over people in your own group too. In this case, it's white women. But I mean, black women are affected too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I think kind of the primary focus and the end game is to get white women to have more babies.
So if this actually went into effect and it did make its way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court did rule to overturn Roe v. Wade, what would happen with abortion? Abortion would still happen. And that's just reality. Abortion would still happen because it used to be illegal. Do you recall? It used to be illegal. In many states it was illegal, and abortion still occurred. So nothing would change on that end. It would become much more dangerous. It would become illegal. So I mean, there might be some criminal action. It just seems like, and I try to say this all the time when we're discussing abortion. I don't believe conservatives and people that are reportedly, or what they say is that rhetorically they say that they're pro-life. I don't think they understand that nobody is pro-abortion. Okay, like nobody's pro-abortion. Now, people are pro a woman deciding to terminate her pregnancy, and that's where I'm at too. I'm fully in the camp of let a woman decide what's going on with her own body. If we want to reduce abortion numbers, which I think everybody wants to happen, even people that are pro-choice. I mean, everybody wants that to happen. If we want that to happen, though, why don't we talk about root causes? Not just about let's just end the practice of abortion. Like, if you want to do that, I mean, like, if you want to limit the numbers, then start here at the ground level. You have to talk about access to healthcare, access to prophylactics, access to comprehensive sex education. We have to talk about addressing poverty. We have to talk about all of these issues if you actually want to do something about abortion totals, not just making it illegal. Because, like I said, it's not gonna end there. It will never end there. All you would do is put more people in harm's way. This is like a Judeo-Christian. Forget that term. This is because of religious beliefs, right? And I just wish that your religious beliefs, whoever you are, I wish that your religious beliefs did not get in the way of implementing law, because there is the so-called thing of separation of church and state, right? Why is your religion getting in the way of lawmaking? Do you understand? Like, whatever you believe, whatever God that you believe in, let that be about you. Let that not be for all of us. And that's what the issue is here. Kay Ivey, the governor of Alabama, she said that the new abortion ban, quote, stands as a powerful testament to Alabamians' deeply held belief that every life is precious and that every life is a sacred gift from God.
Every life?
Every life.
Every life?
Every life.
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
If that's the case, then they should be kind of on the front lines with, let's say, protesting with Black Lives Matter. On the front lines, right?
They should.
What about Muslim lives?
Yeah, it's true.
Refugee and immigrant lives? No.
I agree. There's one other thing they should be doing.
Yemen lives, Afghan lives, Iraq lives, and in regard to the Alabama bill, let's say rape survivors' lives.
But there's another one too, though. There's another one you didn't address. How about the death penalty?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The death penalty is a penalty in the state of Alabama. Since Governor Kay Ivey took office in 2016, there have been six executions, and there's currently a 7th execution that's due to take place shortly. Every life, remember, this is her own quote, every life is a sacred gift from God. Now, we understand that there are horrible crimes that can be committed at a human's hands. They can take a life, they can, like I said, commit horrible crimes. and they should be punished for that. But if every life is a sacred gift from God and none of us should be able to determine the ending point for that said life, that's a decision that should be made by God, then why are we making that decision? Why is Alabama making that decision? Why is Governor Kay Ivey okay with executing prisoners?
Because this whole we care about the Constitution and we're strict constitutionalists is a damn farce. That's why when you were talking about separation of church and state, they never cared about the Constitution. No. They just care about power.
Right.
They just kind of use Christianity and this kind of pious morality and righteousness as a cover for their authoritarian type aims and authoritarian type agenda. That's all they're doing. And if, like, it just seems like an easier route to try to, curb, women not having babies is to promote what? Contraception.
That's what I'm saying.
That's an easier route, right?
But
that's a much easier route.
That gets in the way.
That gets in the way of the agenda and
religion. You see? That's what I'm saying. Why are we allowing religion to shape policy? Why are we allowing that to happen when this is not a theocracy? Why are we allowing that to happen?
You'd be amazed. Well, no, you know what?
No,
I was about to say, you don't even know what I'm about to say, but you wouldn't be amazed. But there's a high percentage of evangelicals and Christians still see this country as a Christian nation.
Yeah.
They think this country was formed as a Christian nation. And you know what? I think they're bullshitting and they know it. I think they have to maintain that. They have to think that. Because if they didn't, their politics wouldn't make any sense. Them going forward with their political agenda on religious grounds wouldn't make any sense. I think they know that this is not a Christian nation, and it never was, and it wasn't founded to be one. They know that, but they have to tell themselves that, and they have to believe that in order to justify going forth with legislation like this and other legislation that illustrates their religious beliefs or pushes their religious beliefs.
Again, man, this is the most restrictive and extreme ban in the nation now. And there was a push by the Democrats in Alabama to include an amendment. And the amendment would have included these exceptions for rape and incest. The Republicans shot that down because, like I just read to you from Kay Ivey, this is a similar belief held by all the Republicans. Every life is a sacred gift from God. Life begins right there in the womb, so it has to be protected. I mean, but why stop there, man? Because men, we all have life right in the scrotum area, right? Don't we? Don't we have sperm? Isn't that life? That is life. Why wouldn't ejaculation be criminal? I mean, one reason is because men usually are making these decisions. How would they like it if ejaculating was a crime? That wouldn't fly over too well. I don't think so. That would be too extreme, but this is okay. This is okay. That's way too extreme. This is okay though.
Well, according to conservative Twitter and right-wing Twitter, those exceptions you're talking about, they make sense. Because, hey, if you are a victim of incest and you're 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old and you become pregnant, according to right-wing Twitter, that baby is evidence. So you don't want to get rid of it. You don't want to get rid of it. So, because how are you going to catch the criminal unless you keep the baby?
So
Gotta
we must make the rape survivor carry to full term the baby, the product of the rape, because we need evidence.
Yeah, according to Matt Walsh. According to Matt Walsh. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Doesn't matter if the child is, if it is a child, if it's a young child, if it's not even a teenager. I mean, it doesn't matter. That girl should have to go through that whole process because of evidence.
So, I mean, is it safe to say that when you create legislation with zero exceptions, almost zero exceptions, other than some extreme case of potential death of the mother. Would it be safe to say that that is extreme?
Yeah.
That's extreme,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Compared to like where we are right now. Oh yes, of course. No matter what your mentality is, that's very extreme. No matter.
But hey. These babies are going to be born into an environment where they might not be able to breathe in about 50 years. So it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. I mean,
it's all right. So look, next up, of course, is that there's going to be a legal. excuse me. There's going to be a legal challenge, and anyway, of course, there's going to be a legal challenge, and it's going to win. It's going to win because this was an unconstitutional law that was just signed into legislation. So I guess, like I said, Kay Ivey, the Republicans in Alabama, are hoping that this will get to the Supreme Court and that they will actually take the case. So we can just wait, sit back and see what happens. But the Republicans are trying to get us back to the dark ages. In Ohio, as I said earlier, that was one of the states that has recently implemented a heartbeat bill. I believe on Wednesday, the American Civil Liberties Union, they filed a lawsuit challenging that law. So,
isn't that the state where the 11-year-old girl, I think got pregnant?
I think. I can't be sure.
As a consequence of her being raped?
Yeah, I think. All right, so let's move on. Election 2020. There have been some new entrants to the Democratic field. Why? I don't know. I don't know why. We were at 21. I think last week I said that there was 22. I was wrong. You were right. There was 21. Okay?
At this point, we can use that what the Yin Yang Twin song, 5011, 5011, the Yin Yang 5011.
Yeah, so there's two more now. There's two more entrants. First, it was Montana Governor Steve Bullock. Have you ever heard of Steve Bullock? I can't say for sure that I've heard of Governor Steve Bullock. I probably have seen it. It hasn't stuck in here.
How many people heard of Barack Obama? Huh?
He was a senator.
But still, people didn't hear about him, though, right?
No, they heard about him. At least look. What is his claim to fame? What is Steve Bullock's claim to fame? At least Barack Obama, he did give the response. I believe, didn't he give the response? No. He didn't give the response. He was the headliner for the Democratic National Convention.
And he unseated I guess, who was it? Damn, Rush? No. Damn, what was his name? But anyway, he kind of did what...
Was it Bobby Rush? Bobby Rush.
It was
yeah.
Rush.
Right.
He kind of did what AOC did.
Yeah, it's true.
Kind of, he unseated someone that was, well established within the Democratic Party.
Yes.
So he did the same thing. So yeah, I was just kidding. I was just kidding about Bullock. Yeah, you're right. Who is this dude?
Exactly.
Which makes me question why he's running. Again, you said, who is this guy?
Who is this dude?
So,
man?
What other way to kind of boost your brand and let people know who you are?
He's not a young guy, okay? I could understand if you were a younger guy, you wanted to get your name out there possibly for the future. Not saying that somebody that's older, can't be in politics until they're, 70, 80, years old.
Because he ain't as old as Biden.
No,
or
Bernie Sanders. No, he's
or
not
even
that
Donald
old.
Trump.
Right. But still, who are you, man? Who, in this field, we have our centrists, we have our, liberals, we have our progressives, if you could, I guess if that's, the kind of characteristics you want to, put on labels or whatever. But he has always been described as somebody that's moderate, somebody that's a centrist. And he has no name brand whatsoever. He is not recognizable at all. Not when you actually see his face or when you hear his name.
So what you're saying is he doesn't stand out.
He doesn't
and
stand
if you're
out.
going
And his
to,
policies don't stand out.
So if you're going
Not
to,
that I
if
know
you-
what his policies are.
if you enter a race, it would seem as if you would have to stand out in order to make a splash. So if you don't have any kind of policy that stands out, if you don't have any kind of personality that stands out, a brand that stands out, then how viable are you? I'm not just talking about viability, like how the general public talks about, like electability. I'm just talking about in general. Like what about you would cause you to kind of grab people's attention? If you don't have those things, then what's the point in entering the race so late in the game? See, okay, so when something doesn't make sense, there's usually something behind it. Something that is not good. Usually something behind it.
Okay.
So how many did you say we at now? 50-11?
Well, yeah, about 50.
We had 50-11.
Or i.e. 23.
23.
So that was the 22nd. 23rd. 23rd made the announcement, was it earlier today? Earlier today on Thursday, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced he was running for president.
So another centrist.
He wouldn't say so.
Obviously not.
He wouldn't say so.
Obviously
He would
not.
say he's a progressive.
Your boy, Schultz, he's not in yet,
Right.
officially, but he did say if Biden actually wins the nomination, he won't run third party. But if Warren or Sanders do, he's threatening to get in.
Oh, he's threatening. Yeah, he's
Threatening. He's going to get in. Because then he has to save the party from going too far to the left.
Look, de Blasio, now he does have name recognition. I will say that. He's the New York City mayor. Of course he's going to have name recognition. Nationally, he's probably pretty well known. But even in the state of New York, he's not like terribly supported. It's not like he has like this overwhelming amount of support. Understand that New York is, I mean,
Liberal.
Look, New York City is a
Liberal,
New York City, and that's where most of the people reside in the outer parts of New York, like New York State. Yeah, those are rural parts that can be kind of conservative. Not kind of conservative, it can be conservative. But I guess if you talk about it in totality, yeah, New York is a liberal state. And in New York City, yeah, he does have, I think his approval numbers are above 50%. But then when you're talking about how blue New York is, how blue New York City is, and his numbers are just over 50%.
Yeah,
like,
that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's not great, you know? And I believe it was in, you know, and this was according to a poll, it was in the low 20s, how many people were like supportive of his, I guess, aspirations to run for president. Look, there's a lot of work. Many people have said, you know, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done in New York City. Again, you know, a lot of people have criticisms of the work that he has done and the work that he has failed to do. So running for president, and you're a mayor too. I'm not saying that a mayor can't run. We have Pete Buttigieg that's running for mayor from South Bend, Indiana. So it's not like something that is not done. It's just, why? Why?
We talked about this kind of very heavy influx of candidates within this Democratic field last week, maybe the week before.
Yeah.
Perhaps we talk about it every week.
Yeah. Perhaps.
But again, I just don't trust this. I just don't trust this process.
Right.
Because it's like a clown car has turned into a clown bus.
Yeah.
And again,
Like one of them,
I
like
can't,
London buses, the 2 levels.
them double-decker buses.
Yeah, man, I'm saying.
Again, me being pessimistic. I'm just thinking they're trying to drown out certain voices. Especially as it comes to potential debate participants.
Right.
Because the limit is 20. And if certain people get to that debate stage, they may swing the conversation in a certain direction.
It's
and I
possible.
think a lot of...
It's reasonable.
It's reasonable to think that they're trying to kind of push certain people out, even if those people really don't stand a shot at winning.
Yeah.
But they may change the conversation a bit publicly. I mean, and they already kind of they kind of have changed it publicly, but not on a debate stage where more people will be watching, and their positions and their I guess policy proposals will be more visible to the public. You know what I'm saying? So juxtaposed, like I guess you would say Yang or Williamson or Gravel, like some Tulsi Gabbard, any of those people, like even if they don't have the numbers to back them up, at least when they get to that debate stage, they may offer some sort of, I guess, counter argument. And if they offer a counter argument on a big stage, it's kind of hard for these centrist or these moderate candidates to legitimately sell like who they are and what they represent.
I don't know. Like I said, we're coming to that point where this is going to have to be settled in some way. If they're going to expand it past 20 or not, they're going to have to come up with some new, I guess,
format.
Like a new format, a new like point that you have to hit so that you can be included.
New metrics.
Yeah,
a new you have to.
So in that case, then you could see an ulterior motive. Like, okay, you're really trying.
We got to cut it off at 20. So now,
sorry.
I guess the previous requirements are null and void.
Yeah.
There's new requirements, and hey, some of y'all don't make it.
Right. All right. Oh, but what I did find was funny though. This was the New York Post about Bill de Blasio running for president. This is in his home state now. De Blasio runs for president and has just a whole bunch of people laughing.
Oh, and
laughing hard too.
And they got like snacks.
Yeah, laughing.
I like the snacks.
In New York, man. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Anyway, all right. Let's go to an update. Wendy Vitter. Don't have to talk about this very long. We talked about Wendy Vitter. We talked about Wendy Vitter months ago. Okay, Wendy Vitter was nominated by President Donald Trump to a federal judge appointment, lifetime gig. This was for the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Louisiana. She is the wife of former Senator David Vitter.
David Vitter, yeah, right.
Who resigned in disgrace, I believe. That's another story. Anyway, the reason why we talked about her was because of her confirmation hearing, in which she failed to answer if she believed that Brown versus Board of Education was correctly decided. I believe it was Senator Blumenthal that was asking her these questions, and she just refused to answer. And she kind of in her refusal to answer, she kind of made it seem as though, personally, she did not agree with it, but that she would be bound by the ruling, and that she would always uphold Supreme Court rulings. So she tried to dodge around it, but of course this was a major story, and her confirmation was held up for months. Like I said, we talked about this months before, but today on Thursday, she was confirmed by the Senate. She was confirmed by the Senate to a lifetime federal judge appointment. A lifetime appointment. She's also the same woman that had very interesting thoughts about abortion. She's against abortion, and it was a few years ago. She was like promoting this pamphlet. She was out there, I believe. She was rallying and things like that. And she actually, maybe she would tell you differently today, but she believed that abortion causes cancer. This is the woman that is appointed to a lifetime gig.
Yeah. And you know what the purpose of that is.
Of course.
You know what the purpose of that
course.
is. And that's actually going on across the country. I read somewhere, I can't remember where I read at, but I read it at a couple of places. And it was pointing out how at this point in Donald Trump's presidency, he has appointed more federal judges than any other president. And like, I don't think people understand how
It's setting the landscape.
he's setting the landscape. It's bigger than just him and his rhetoric, you know, at the executive level. And it's bigger than just his policy proposals at the executive level and working with Congress and all that. It's way bigger than that. Even if, you know, Congress is at a standstill, and even if it stalls in regard to negotiations between the parties, there is still a lot of, I guess, power to acquire and being acquired right now through the appointment of federal judges. So even if Donald Trump doesn't get anything done, he's getting things done.
Yeah.
And I think these federal judge appointments is kind of scary considering who he's appointing.
Yeah.
So
This isn't just about like just regular people's concerns, because if there's something where you need to contest a decision, a law, anything like that, yeah, I mean, it could get to it could get in front of these federal court, in front of these federal courts and in front of these federal judges. But even in Congress, like you're mentioning, sometimes there are situations where they might have to contest some type of decision made by the president or something like that in court. We're going through that right now, aren't we?
Yep.
We're going through that right the hell now.
Because we talk about that all the time, how that's where Trump was failing.
Yes.
That's where Trump was failing. That's where a lot of policies were failing in court because they were against federal law or unconstitutional in nature. So the courts couldn't uphold it.
If you set the landscape and set the landscape with people who you deem are going to be, I guess, sympathetic to conservative principles, conservative mentality, or anything like that, then there's a better shot that you're going to win that case. Because these are political operatives.
Oh, definitely political
These
operatives.
aren't just like independent-minded judges. No, these are political operatives.
And kind of what kind of system? Like when we're talking about what type of agenda some of these people have, beyond their kind of social conservatism, like what type of agenda do they support and who do they protect?
The elite.
The elite in corporations.
Oh yeah.
The elite and corporations.
All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Joe Biden. Let's go to Joe Biden.
Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe. Recently, Joe Biden. You know, even before that, look. one of the main issues in this country is healthcare. Okay. I believe that was the major issue that was voted on in 2018 in the midterms. I believe that's why a lot of Democrats were elected. That's why the Democratic Party retook the House of Representatives. So it's still a major point. It's still a major point of emphasis. People want moves on healthcare. So we've talked about this many, many times. Joe Biden, who is, of course, the former vice president and running for president, the former vice president and running for president in 2020. We've talked about his feelings on healthcare and how he does not back single-payer legislation. He doesn't back Bernie Sanders' bill. So recently,
he's the most progressive dude.
Yeah, but yeah, self-proclaimed, he's the most progressive that's in the race. Anyway, but recently, he was being interviewed and took a question about universal health care. And we'd like to show you his response.
What do you say to calls for some sort of universal health care or something like Medicare for all from some of the other people running in the Democratic primary?
I think they're well intended. I think they mean it, and it's not. I'm not. But here's the deal. Right now, you have this overwhelming number of employers who are paying into the health care plan. Why let them off the hook? All of a sudden, they don't have to pay anything? What happens then to this whole thing about profit? and the rest. I mean, should be part of the compensation if you have it.
That was a very short clip. I mean, like the conversation wasn't short, but that little part, I did my best, man. I really did. I really did my best, man. I was trying to figure out what the hell he was talking about. I'm like, oh, what he was trying to get at. And I was just like, yo, I was like, he doesn't make any sense. I don't think he's as bad as Trump, but he seems senile at sometimes. And he kind of makes his senility like seem like, I guess, it just seems like he can absorb it into a conversation easier because he sounds smoother.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like number one, all employers don't provide health care as a kind of what you say, compensation.
Yes.
Like all employers do not do that. So what about those people? What about those people who don't get health care through their employer? And even in cases where employers provide health care, that's a problem too, because guess what happens when those people lose their jobs?
Their health care ends.
Goes away.
Or they can get COBRA coverage, which is hundreds of dollars more expensive.
Yeah. So that's the point of implementing a single payer system. So people don't have to like feel obligated to, number one, stay at a job that they don't want.
Right.
And two, like be out of healthcare if they're in between jobs. That's the point of a single payer system. So people won't have to worry about that.
Right. It's his comments are just interesting. Why let him off the hook? Why let him off the hook? Why let these companies off the hook?
I know you're going there. You know I had to do that.
I know you're going there. Now you got me there, man. Anyway, letting them off the hook? Why should healthcare be tied to employment? Why should healthcare be the responsibility of an employer? Like when you lose your job, whether it's you quitting, whether it's you being fired, why let your healthcare be tied to your employer? It's not that these employers are going to be let off the hook. They're not going to be responsible for the health coverage aspect of it anymore. If they have that additional money now, maybe they can do things like, I don't know, provide a better salary for their employees? Maybe? I mean, because that will save them a little bit of money, right? Maybe they can still put it with the employee, but in a different way. Actually give that as a monetary form of compensation. Not, hey, so we're going to go with, I'm going to decide who the healthcare coverage is. Oh, you're like, who we're going through healthcare coverage for.
But see, like, when the employer does provide health coverage, I guess, whether they're providing a percentage of it or not, because some employers don't provide 100%.
No.
There's some companies, corporations that I guess it's like an opt-in, or you can pay for like half of it and they foot half the bill. Right. But where is that money going? The money is going to the insurance companies. So it wouldn't be. So they can basically, reallocate that money that they're sending to insurance companies.
Exactly.
And to their employees.
But so as it seems, this is Joe Biden seemingly trying to prop up the healthcare industry, the private healthcare industry. He didn't say so in as many words.
Oh, but that's what he was saying. But because you can tell, like the wheels were just turning. Like, how can I make this sound like a bad thing? How can I make this sound like a bad thing? One thing people don't understand about Joe Biden. When I say people, I mean your Hillary Clinton voters, supporters, and Barack Obama supporters and voters. Because I think it's safe to assume that a lot of the support that Biden currently has is transitional support from those two people. And Barack Obama specifically chose Biden to come off like he was more of like a moderate. Obama specifically chose Biden because he kind of had Republican, conservative, more centrist leanings. He wanted to present himself as a candidate that was going to, like, work across the aisle, in a bipartisan fashion. Yeah. That's why he chose Joe Biden. He didn't choose Joe Biden because he was, had, I guess, moderate ideals or progressive ideals. When I mean moderate, I mean like more or less center left and not center right. And so it's just interesting to see a lot of people who support Biden to kind of project this perception that they have of Barack Obama. The perception of Barack Obama 2009, 2008, 2007, 2009 Barack Obama, though. They're projecting that onto Biden, not taking into account why Obama even chose Biden in the first place.
Back then, Obama was looked at as an unabashed progressive.
And I think that's important. So I'm coming from that perspective. Right. I'm not, because obviously something different took place during his presidency.
Right.
But yeah, like the reason behind Obama choosing Biden, to me, is very important, because now it's like Biden is being like presented as this very transformative candidate. It's kind of it's like center left in a way.
He's being presented as
something he's not, something that he wasn't.
He never was.
He never was.
Or no, he never was what people considered Obama to be.
Again, so this is all about perception here.
Perception.
So it's this important conversation about perception, not necessarily reality.
But I don't even think he's Obama, though.
Exactly.
Obama, what he really was.
You mean you don't even think what? Okay, he's not even what Obama presented himself to be.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think he's more to the right. I think he's way more moderate, or way more Republican, really.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't know. It's just weird to me, man. It's all weird to me, man.
All right, so let's stay on healthcare, but we're gonna go to the other side of the aisle this time. We're gonna go to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Republican from Kentucky. So recently, he was on Fox News with Sean Hannity, and they discussed this. They discussed healthcare, single payer, even threw in a few candidates, Democratic candidates for 2020.
Yeah.
So just take a listen. Take a look at this.
When it comes to the Green New Deal. Well, I mean, everything's going to be for free, so we're told, but we were also told that you can keep your plan and keep your doctor and save money. That didn't happen. Millions lost their plans, doctors, and everybody paid more. But this, I think this is an important point you're making. This is not just Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. We've got presidential candidates. How do you assess this group of 20-plus Democrats that want to be president?
Even the ones, Sean, that will declare themselves moderates will say with regard to health care that they want the public option. There won't be any private health insurance if you have a public option, because the government will always sell you the insurance cheaper. So no matter how they choose to characterize themselves, you can bet, whether it's Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, or somebody else, the nominee for president on the Democratic side is going to be on a path to try to turn America into a socialist country. We're not going to let that happen. Donald Trump's still in the White House, and as long as I'm Majority Leader of the Senate, I get to set the agenda. That's why I call myself the Grim Reaper. We will not have the Green New Deal, and will not have Medicare for none as long as I'm Majority Leader of the Senate.
This is amazing.
Okay, Jesse Lee Peterson. Amazing.
It is truly and utterly amazing.
The Grim Reaper. He
called himself the Grim Reaper.
He called himself the Grim Reaper. And if you look at him, isn't that the first thing you think about?
When he starts talking.
When he starts talking?
Is
the Grim Reaper.
Some of the things that he said, like, I I really do wonder if he even understands what he is saying. He said that if there's a public option, that there won't be any more private insurers. The private healthcare industry will be in crumbles. It will shatter. He also added that nobody, this will be a product of nobody going to private healthcare insurers because the public option from the government will be more cost effective. It will be less money.
Wait a second. So he just admitted that insurance would be cheaper.
But he says, but he thinks that will scare people off. The cheaper
insurance
would scare people off and send them.
This is a crisis.
Cheaper
insurance is a crisis, bro.
We can't have cheaper insurance. We have to prop up the private healthcare industry. Like, we can't have these cheap prices.
Hannity's talking about...
How are we gonna get this money from the private healthcare industry?
Hannity's talking about, like, the cost going up, right?
Yes.
That's
not what Mitch McConnell said.
But guess what, though? Like, with the current insurance, policy we have now, what's left of the ACA, insurance rates go up slightly.
Yeah,
it slowed the rate, but insurance is still going up.
Right.
So...
It hasn't, like you said,
but why are those rates so high?
Well, it's still coming from the private healthcare industry.
The administrative cost of the private healthcare industry.
Yes.
You get rid of those administrative costs, those overhead costs, which amounts to trillions and trillions of dollars. That's what lowers the cost of insurance, and it's not going to be free, as Hannity constantly says all the time. And one other thing, probably the most atrocious point that he made, and he did it so nonchalantly, is when he was talking about him protecting this country from the socialist, right? He listed some people there.
He did.
He listed some people there. He basically said no matter who the Democrats nominate, right? He's trying to protect this country from, the evil creep of socialism. And he mentioned one particular person that, to me, just completely destroys the entire talking point. It just makes the entire talking point look ridiculous. He mentioned Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
You already coughing. Did he mention Elizabeth Warren? Right? He mentioned Warren, didn't he? But he mentioned somebody else, too. Who did he mention?
Joey.
He mentioned Joe Biden when he was talking about socialism.
So anybody is a socialist now.
Everybody is a socialist. See, this is what he's proving. Right in that segment. But I already knew this. But it kind of further solidifies this notion I have. That socialist is just a buzzword to make people afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't even apply in this situation, especially with Joe Biden. It's just a buzzword to make people afraid.
No, this is how much it doesn't apply to the situation. This is how much it doesn't apply.
You're mad. He's so mad.
We're talking about a public option. We're not even talking about single payer. We're talking about a public option at this point, right?
Yeah.
So he's talking about Medicare for none, right? He throws that in because he thinks that, hey, if there's like a Medicare buy-in, then actually like Medicare is all going to go away. It's going to be Medicare for none. I've seen him make that argument before. It's ridiculous. But if you extend Medicare to everybody, how would that be a different situation? Like in terms of like what it is.
In terms of process.
And just what Medicare is. We already have Medicare. So if you aren't like an opponent of Medicare, I know you want to privatize it, but you don't say that you're an opponent to Medicare. So you don't say that. So if we have Medicare right now and you don't claim that we're a socialist society, then how could we be a socialist society if Medicare was for everybody? This is absolute nonsense. And like you said, it's just a scare tactic. This is a demagogue doing demagogue type shit, man. That's all it is.
He hates it. We both hate demagogues, but
My God.
it makes his blood boil.
Yes, man, because like you said, he's just scaring people. Socialist.
Because it doesn't even apply. Matter of fact, it doesn't even apply to Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders.
No, it doesn't.
Either.
No, it doesn't.
Because they have not advocated for the workers to own the means of production. They've never argued that. They can argue for a stronger social safety net within capitalism. That's it.
What I'm really wondering, man, it's like, I'm not even gonna go there. I had a thought come in my mind. Anyway, I want to see how a conservative thinks and how they process information. Because to hear Mitch McConnell say, we can't have this. No, we can't have this because the private health care industry would go away because the government option will be cheaper. How does a conservative intake that information? Yeah, right on, Mitch. We can't have more cheaper. We can't have cheaper coverage.
No. And that's pretty.
How do you?
And that's like, although.
How do you applaud that?
Although Mitch McConnell is being totally disingenuous right here, I think the ability to make something that actually makes sense sound bad.
Yeah.
Is kind of I might be going to use. I don't want to use a positive word. It's commendable to Sean. It's commendable, I guess, in the view of Fox News and Sean Hannity.
It's devious
to make something that makes sense sound like it's bad.
The worst thing in the world. Yeah. Oh no, we can't have that. You'll have cheaper coverage.
And
he didn't say the quality would be worse. It was nothing about quality. It was about cost.
And as Trudy pointed out in the chat, what kind of insurance does he have?
Socialist insurance,
and as well as other members of Congress.
They have government insurance.
They have government insurance.
They have government insurance that they never complain about, not once.
So why can't everybody have that?
Why can't everybody have that? Government health care for government workers, but we can't have government health care. No.
And they have that, and they make $172,000 a year. And specifically, Mitch McConnell, his net worth has I was gonna say quadrupled, but no, it went from like 2 million or 3 million to 22 million in like a period of 10 years.
So here we have a situation again where we're discussing how it is expensive to be poor, how it is expensive to not be in the elite class of society, to just be a regular person. These elite class of individuals, these politicians, government health care, lower costs, which Mitch McConnell just attested to, but everybody else can't have that. Like I said, I really, how do they intake this information and say, right on, Mitch, can't let it happen. I want to pay more money. All right. Let's go to the let's go to the update. All right. A couple months ago, we talked about the lethal trash grabber.
The trash grabber bandit.
The trash grabber bandit. This was in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. And I believe it happened on March 1st. And there was a black man that was at his own property, his own building, minding his own damn business, picking up trash with a very dangerous trash grabber. You know,
I think
with the claws.
I think we should better.
He had a bucket too.
We should better describe what he had as a throat crusher.
A throat crusher.
A throat crusher.
Right. Projectile throat crusher.
A throat crusher with projectile abilities.
Yes. That's a better description. But we showed the video when we talked about this in March. We showed the video. We showed, and the individual's name, his name is Zaid Atkinson. And we showed how distressed he was, how obviously perturbed he was from this incident, because there was a police officer that had came on the scene. and wanted him to provide identification, wanted him to prove to the police officer that he was supposed to be there, that he was allowed to be there, because the police officer saw that there was a private property sign. And so he just needed to make sure that he was supposed to be there. And we all, look, we called bullshit. And one reason is because the reasoning for this police officer, the reasoning that he pointed to was the private property sign. He saw that he was in this area and there was a private property sign. And so that led him to confront this individual and make sure he was supposed to be there.
Well, I mean,
but why we said it was bullshit, I remember why I said it was bullshit, was because he didn't need to see that private property sign. Any residence on that street, any residence on any street is private property.
Exactly. And again, people actually have to exist on their own property.
Yeah.
So if you have a private property sign on your property, you can go on your own property.
I can go
so
on
if
my own
I
property.
see somebody on private property sign, why would I assume that that's not their property? Like, wait a second. I see a private property sign and I see a person. Those two things don't go together. Like,
exactly. Like, the officer did not say that he saw him doing anything criminal, like trying to break in the property, have a weapon out or something, drinking, some alcohol or anything like that. Open bottle.
Like you see. So what you're saying is the cop did not have reasonable suspicion that he was committing a crime.
No probable cause. No nothing.
So
anyway, like I said, we showed the video, and like I said, Atkinson was definitely perturbed, definitely agitated, because it wasn't just this particular officer, and we know his name now. His name is Officer John Smiley with the Boulder Police Department.
Really?
Smiley.
His name is John
Smiley.
You lying?
No, that's his name.
Is this a sitcom?
It is not. Watching it unfold on video, yeah, you would think so. It could not be real. Yeah, Officer John Smiley.
John Smiley from Boulder, Colorado. Like, dang.
But,
you can't write that stuff, man.
But yeah, when we showed the video, like I said, he was definitely, like I said, he was, look, because it wasn't just about this one particular officer, because there was, I think, 7 other officers that showed up. So I think there was a total of 8 officers that showed up on the scene. Some of them had their hands on their weapons. A trash grabber. And a bucket. All right.
See, okay, again, we have to make sure we properly define these things. And I kind of keep slipping up because I have to acknowledge the danger that these cops were in. So yes, it was a throat grabber.
A throat with
projectile capabilities.
That's correct.
And
what about the bucket?
The bucket, maybe that was
it could suffocate him?
No. Well, no.
Maybe it could, like, it had something where it could close his neck if it got on.
Exactly. It was like some sort of severed head storage compartment.
Okay.
A severed head storage compartment.
So it had blades that would, like, pop. You get on top of somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So a throat crusher with projectile capabilities and a severed head storage compartment.
Right.
That is what Atkinson had.
Master.
And this is why it was necessary for 8 super troopers to show up
in all their glory, man. Show up.
I can imagine I think the first time we used the term super troopers was in that situation in Texas with the pool party. Dude was like cutting flips. I was like, yo, these are like 12 and 13-year-olds. What are you doing? This mother's like cutting flips and like flipping around.
Oh,
get
man.
out. I'm like,
officer on the scene, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's an update to this situation, all right, that we're going to provide. But with the update is additional video footage. So now we have the video footage from the officer's body cam. Officer John Smiley, we have his body cam footage. It is worse. It's actually worse now. So there's 3 separate videos that we're going to show, okay? So the first part we're going to show is the lead up, okay, into the lead up to where, like, I guess like the standoff is happening. And then the other officers arriving on the scene where he's out front of his own property. So we're going to show you like how this actually came to be, like the very first interaction between these two. All right.
I couldn't help but notice you just sitting on the patio out there.
What's that?
I couldn't help but notice you sitting on the patio behind this building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's signs for no trespassing, private property,
here.
that kind of thing. Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were doing, if you lived here or you worked here.
Yeah,
it looks like you're working, doing something, picking stuff up.
I work here.
Okay, gotcha. What's the actual address then?
3333 Arapahoe.
Okay, what unit are you in?
I don't think I have to actually tell you that.
Well, I'm just checking to make sure that you have a right to be here, that's
Well,
all.
I just told you I lived here.
Okay.
And I told you that I'm working as well.
Okay.
Shouldn't that be enough for you?
Well, I gotta verify it, just so I know that you do in fact live here.
Kidding me? What do you need from me?
If you have an ID with your address on it, that'd be great.
Fucking unbelievable, man.
Well, we've had some stuff going on in this area. I'm just
I
doing
know.
my job, just making sure you belong here, and if you do, then great, and I'll be on my way.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have anything with your address on it?
Yo, look, man. Here,
Hey,
why
hang
don't you follow
Just
me,
relax.
and I'll just fucking beep the building, dude.
Just chill out, man.
Dude, this is ridiculous.
I'm just asking you if you have something with your address on it, then that would help me.
No, I don't. How am I
Okay.
supposed to have something with my address
Well,
on it?
a lot of people have a
They
driver's
just carry
license.
they just carry something with their address on it?
Yeah, an ID.
It's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah. So, Mr. Atkinson, can I get your date of birth, please?
Why?
I just need to verify who you are, that you belong here, that you have a right to be here, okay?
Are you kidding me, man?
Can you have a seat, please?
No.
Mr. Atkinson.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
290 Cook 12. Can you please have a seat?
No.
Put that down. Stop.
All right. So that's the initial interaction between these two. You can see that the officer just walked up on the scene and was like, "Hey, yeah, I saw you. Saw the private property. I just need to make sure that you're supposed to be here." An officer's responsibility is not to walk up onto private property and ask if the people that are on that private property are supposed to be there. That's not your role as an officer. But this dude, Atkinson, you can see he at least tried to oblige in actually a couple different ways. The first way was that he gave him his ID, his student ID. Obviously, he does not have like a state ID. He probably doesn't drive. He doesn't have a state issue ID. So he gave that to him willingly. He also said, my birthday, why do you need it? I can just go ahead and, and let you in the building right here to show you that I belong here.
So that was an option the officer could have taken.
Yep.
That would have been a legitimate option.
Yep.
But that would have been a legitimate option if the officer's intent was to be an honest actor in this situation.
Yes, and not escalate what happened.
And not harassment.
That's right.
If he's not looking to harass somebody, that's a legitimate route to go. Yeah. Oh, word? You can buzz me in like that? Yeah. Well, go ahead. Now be on my way.
You remember what did we deem him? Pool Patrol Pete. You remember Pool Patrol Pete, right? The guy that was trying to, or that called the police because he didn't believe that somebody was supposed to be there. It was a black lady.
It was a black or Hispanic lady or
Hispanic
something like
lady?
that.
Okay.
And she did like have a card, right?
She had a card. The officer showed up, and so she slid the card for the officer. She wouldn't do that for Pool Patrol Pete, but she slid the card for the officer. It was green. It opened up. That was good enough for the officer. Okay, let's be done with this. It wouldn't be good for this guy though, because he wants to harass Atkinson.
And I think people need to understand something when it comes to when cops are trying to violate someone's constitutional rights, or when they are trying to be antagonistic. In a lot of cases, they're doing it with a very moderate voice. They do it with a voice, I don't even know what to call it. I would call it like benevolent harassment, where they have a moderate voice, a balanced voice, right? Which gives the impression they're being reasonable. But what they're actually doing is being petty, antagonistic, and harassing somebody. And so there's some people who are thrown off by that. Like, so there's some people who actually fall for that. People who like watch these videos
because they're not raising their voice,
and so they automatically assume because the cop has a moderate voice and a moderate tone that there's just nothing wrong with it. And why don't you just comply?
Yes.
And I'm like,
but complying would mean that like I'm okay with you violating my rights.
I'm okay with you violating my rights and harassment and being antagonistic to a human being, a citizen, somebody who lives in the community or even doesn't live in that community, or just harassing somebody is not permissible simply because you have a moderate tone, which the officer had in that instance. And that's something that I've experienced too. And I'm like, I don't care how you're talking. I don't really care about your tone. I actually care about why you're up on me and approach me in the first place.
So, all right. So again, that was the first video. The second video we're going to show you is about, actually it's a couple clips, but the first part of it is about 13 minutes into the video. Okay. 13 minutes in. This was a whole, this lasted from when he walked up on Atkinson until the very end. It lasted about 22 minutes. This was about at the 13-minute mark. So I really want you to pay attention to this.
Hey Zaid. What? Okay, these nice people here told me that you are a resident.
Oh wow.
So Zaid,
what a fucking surprise.
That's what we were trying to find out. Okay.
What a fucking surprise. I gave him my ID.
Okay.
And then he started taking down my fucking information, telling me this, that, and the other thing. And then I walk away, and he pulls his fucking taser out on me.
So Zaid, I'm listening to you, and I just appreciate if you do the same thing. Okay? So Zaid, if you were willing to sit down, this would bring everything down a little bit, and we could start going down.
I do not feel comfortable sitting down around a bunch of fucking murderers.
Right now, I need you to sit down so we can figure it out.
I want you guys to get off my property and stop wasting my fucking time.
That's not going to happen until I confirm who you are and what you're doing.
You already know who I am. He just confirmed who I am.
I don't have your date of birth, which is what I asked for.
I want my ID back, please.
And when we've finished, then you can have it back.
And then you can go.
Can you have a seat so we can talk a little more?
And I don't think that I have to sit. I'm not sitting. This isn't like a game.
Right now, you're acting very.
We're gonna negotiate what we do here because I have my fucking rights.
Well, first off, I want to commend Super Trooper number 5.
Whatever his number is.
Whatever his number is, whatever his name. I'll just call him Super Trooper number 5. I really want to kind of, I guess, give him some situational accolades for confiscating the severed head container.
In the background?
And the throat grabber.
Right.
You see, he did that first. He made sure he took away these weapons of mass destruction.
These mobile weapons.
Mobile weapons of mass destruction. Right. He did that first.
Yes. Very good job.
Very good job.
Johnny on the spot.
Really?
Yeah, Johnny on the spot.
And the dude's the cop's
it's not the same one, though.
But still, no. John Smiley.
Okay. This is. I can't even. I told you this was about 13 minutes into the video. Another officer goes into the building, confirms that Atkinson does live there, and should be there. Confirms it at 13 minutes. This whole process took 22. Even after the officer comes back out of the building and says, "Yeah, okay, yo, so Zayed, we confirm you know that you live here, blah blah. You just need to calm it down, so this is gonna go smoother." It should have been the end of contact. All the officers should have went away immediately. Officer John Smiley is still asking for his birth date. Still asking this dude to sit down. Why are you still here? Why do you still have my ID? You just confirmed. I didn't have to confirm that I lived here. It's not your responsibility to investigate that. Nobody said that there was a problem here. It was just your eyes telling you that, hey, I see a black guy, even though you didn't say it. I see a black guy here behind a fence or whatever, behind some area where there's a private property sign, and I'm going to go investigate, even though it's not my job. It's been confirmed that he should be there. And you're still here? You're still here?
And what you saw was the second stage to his benevolent harassment, and that's gaslighting. Like, why are you getting so agitated? You see what I'm saying? So he's gaslighting Atkinson. Like, first you harass him.
Yeah.
And you kind of present this, like, you present the optics of being reasonable based on your tone,
right.
Even though you're not. You're agitating someone who is just innocent,
right.
And you somehow think it's unreasonable that they are agitated,
right.
And that they have an attitude. So you make it seem like, hey, guy, there's no need to be like this. You just need to comply with my harassment.
Yeah,
you need to comply with I and these 11 other super troopers, these 7 or 8 other super troopers. You just need to comply with our harassment. You know, I know you are surrounded right now by individuals that have weapons.
Yes.
That actually have weapons.
Yes.
But you need to remain calm.
So the violation of rights, you shouldn't get agitated. You shouldn't get perturbed. You shouldn't even feel any type of negative way about that. You should just comply.
No. Comply and be calm.
Yeah, take it down a notch there, buddy.
Take it down.
And sit down. Sit down. So, like I said, this is beyond belief that it lasted another 9 minutes, right? But I do want to play the end of it for you. And the end is very interesting, okay? Because like you just saw, they've already confirmed that he lives there, i.e. he's supposed to be there, okay? So this is the end with Officer Johnny on the spot. Now I associate with Johnny on the spot with him. Officer John Smiley. This is him talking to another one of those officers. And this is how it ends, and you'll just see.
So we confirmed that he lives here, right?
No.
Well, he just did.
Okay.
Parker just did. He confirmed that he lives there.
According to him, he lives here. He just provided a unit number. Finally, I don't have a date of birth. I don't know who he is.
Okay. All right. So let's. You got his information in terms of his name and all that.
I just have his name.
Okay. Then give him his ID back, and then we're out of here. Yeah, because we already confirmed he's there, and this gentleman here just said, yeah, he works here and lives here. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he just.
My man's cut the audio. Once he figured out that, oh shit, I'm like, so all this flexing I've been doing, you just gonna just squash all this flexing I've been doing?
I called my boys got my back.
Dang! Wait.
He said, he said, he told me, you can hear, right? When he's told, yeah, so we already confirmed it, so, you got to give him back his ID, and, we'd be on the way. He was like, okay. You heard that, right?
That you could tell that wasn't a normal okay.
No,
it was like
he was shocked.
He was swallowing something. Okay. He was swallowing something. He's probably swallowing his pride.
Oh my goodness, man.
Yeah, man.
So this is somebody that is obsessed with Atkinson. He's no longer trying to perform a job, all right? Because that long since went out the window. This is not an officer just trying to perform his job. No, because the longest that this should have lasted was 13 minutes. It really shouldn't even have lasted that, no doubt. It should have lasted
all of 5 seconds.
About 5 seconds. It should have lasted about 5 seconds. Maybe 10. I'll give you 10. Okay. I'll give you 10 seconds. Within that 10 seconds, this guy told him his name, told him the address, told him he lived there, and then within about 20 seconds, he offered to show him that he did belong there by getting him in the building.
One thing that I think you pointed out when you were playing the first clip, they didn't hear it because you had the mics on mute. Mm-hmm. But when Officer Smiley first walked up, what did Atkinson have in his hands?
He had the bucket and the trash grabber.
Exactly. And what did he do? He put it down.
Yeah, he put it down so that he could, I think he took his gloves off and then he got his ID and gave it to Officer Smiley.
So I guess, the analysis that Officer Smiley gave in regard to him being in this situation and his life being threatened by the trash grabber,
Yes.
that doesn't make sense based on their initial engagement.
Right.
Because was he afraid for his life in the initial...
At that point? No, not at all.
And not just that, not just about the objects. Atkinson was like, oh, put the objects down.
Yeah.
So there was really no threat that he was going to use these dangerous weapons of mass destruction.
No, throughout the whole encounter, he never looked like he was going to use it as a weapon. Not once. 22 minutes on, not once did he look like he was about to use this as a weapon. But Officer John Smiley, he did unholster his gun. I believe he even took it out of the holster and was pointing it down. He never did point it at him, but he did have it in hand.
He was itching.
He was itching.
He was itching.
He was obsessed with Atkinson, and for what? Like I said, you could hear that right at the end. He's like, "Well, I still don't have his birth date." Why you need his birth date? Another officer has already confirmed that he belongs here. What are you still doing here, man?
You know, he like you said, he was obsessed with this dude for some strange reason.
So, more of an update. There was an investigation because, of course, this made national news. This video got out, made national news. There was an investigation. Guess what they found? Guess what they did not find? Guess what the investigation did not find?
Because I guess the accusation was that John Smiley was racially profiling Atkinson, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see. An officer within their own department. This,
yeah.
Carry the just calculating things, man.
Yeah.
Let me guess. They found that there was no racial profiling involved in the situation at all.
Zero.
So if the department determined that Atkinson was not racially profiled, what was the motivation behind harassing Atkinson? What was the motivation? Oh, you know what the motivation was? The department did offer some sort of rationale behind why Officer Smiley kind of was so eager to engage Atkinson, and that was there's been some robberies in the area. That seems to be the reason every fucking time.
Again, if a police officer witnesses something that they deem to be suspicious, and we know that, look, the color skin that you and I have, anything darker, lighter than this, I mean, if it's a brownish complexion, it can be just on its face is suspicious, right? So it's just subject to that officer's perception. So, but because of their perception, whatever they deem suspicious, they're able to investigate, okay? And you know what? Okay, fine. They have to investigate, okay. Now, again, if he saw Atkinson doing something that was actually suspicious outside of being a brownish complexion, if he saw him jimmying the lock, trying to break a window, something like that, committing some probable cause, like something where you saw that he was about to commit a crime,
lurking around cars.
Yes, doing something that actually spells out suspicious behavior.
Yeah,
actually.
Something that's not like ambiguous.
Yes.
But like you said, ambiguity doesn't matter, or like you hinted at, ambiguity doesn't matter.
Not at all.
If it's in competition with somebody's imagination.
Yeah. So he had no reasonable cause to prolong this past 20 seconds, but he did. But there was no racial profiling. So Officer John Smiley, he did resign. So that's an update as well. He did resign his position. He's no longer an officer.
Pretty sure he's not going to get hired anywhere else.
Yeah, I believe as part of the resignation or whatever, he cannot be rehired by the Boulder Police Department.
Just Boulder, though.
I believe it's just Boulder.
Okay. There's no other police departments in the state of Colorado at all.
He was a 14-year veteran of the Boulder Police Department, I believe. And they did say that there were 2 violations, and they were so like ambiguous. It's ridiculous. Like there weren't actual. You know, I can even read to you like what the actual violations were. All right, so Department Rule 5. Members are entrusted to effectively, helpfully, and non-abusively use the authority and public trust vested in them. Okay. He violated that. The other one, Department Rule 8. Members use reasonable judgment and refrain from conduct which reflects unfavorably on the department. That has nothing to do with, like, you tried to mandate something that was unconstitutional. You tried to get this dude to give up his constitutional rights. You drew a gun and put this mug in fear because you said he had to provide you with an address. He had to provide you with his birth date. He had to sit down. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He never showed you that he was doing anything wrong.
How many years did you say?
14 years he was on
14
on the
years.
force.
You know, when we're talking about police officers abusing their power, a lot of people try to make this a training issue. Right? But in a lot of these cases, some of this abuse of power comes via individuals, via officers who've been on the force for years.
14 years.
14 years. So
he's had ongoing training.
If Officer Smiley can nonchalantly harass a person, an individual, a citizen, like he did in this situation, if he can just nonchalantly do it, what are the chances he hasn't done that before?
Well, the investigation, well, I guess the update to the story has also reported that there was no other past offenses committed by
Really?
Smiley.
But they just let him go like that? And you know, it strikes me as disingenuous because one thing you did mention about this story and why the department felt it necessary to be more public about, I guess, their analysis and their follow-up in the investigation is because it went viral. There was a person recording that situation.
Yep.
So imagine if there wasn't a person recording that situation.
True, because that's
his behavior would not have been put out there.
Right.
Officer Smiley's behavior would have not become public.
That's true.
And it's like, and
would
so,
they have released the body cam footage?
Hell no.
It's ridiculous, man. So yeah, I don't know if Atkinson is gonna sue or not. I didn't see any update stating that or not. I definitely would, because this was an avoidable situation. Again, 20 seconds long. That's it. Police officers, yes, we know that you have a dangerous job to do, but it is not called for the harassment of individuals on private property. The harassment of individuals that aren't doing anything that is suspicious either.
Yeah,
they're just being. This is another situation where there was a brown-skinned individual just doing regular human behavior, but it was suspicious enough for a police officer to hold him up for 22 minutes to get 7 boys of his from his police department to surround him with guns and demand that he sits down, demands that he complies, demand his birth date, demands all of this that was unnecessary.
I'm with you. Like you said, police officers have a job to do, and I think we both understand that. I don't want to live in a world where police officers don't have the authority to investigate potential crime. I don't want to live in a world like that, but I also don't want to live in a world where police officers abuse that authority.
Right. And somebody in the chat, I believe it was Kath Casey, talked about the other situation that has been making news Just in the last few days, there was a situation in Houston, Texas, where another black guy with dreads was in his front yard. I believe he was playing basketball
with his kids.
With his kid, and there was a police officer that showed up and just began accosting him.
Said you got warrants in Louisiana.
Got warrants in Louisiana.
Not even checking his ID first.
Nope. Not checking his ID. Claimed his name was Quentin, when his name is not Quentin whatsoever. His name was actually Clarence. And then
I don't know why that's funny. That's funny, but it's not supposed to be. But it's just funny.
The dude, had his arm, trying to put his arm behind his back. I believe it was his wife that was recording.
Don't you verify?
Yes, but he had verification.
Oh, he had a picture.
He had a picture on his phone. Other cop showed up. He's like, yo, get my phone. I'm a cruiser. Got the phone. He's like, doesn't that look like you? Doesn't that look like you? That's the question? That's the question? No. You better provide me something more official than that. Doesn't this look like you?
Because I guess the person that did have the warrants was black and had dreads too. That's all it took. That's really all it took.
That's the standard? That's the standard.
That is the very high standard.
Black, dreads. Anybody can be picked up. If the assailant is black and dreads.
One of my favorite moments in that situation was when that dude said, like when they were trying to carry him away, because when the second officer came, when the guy said, it's going to take more than two of y'all. And I was like, Denzel Washington's character in American Gangster.
Yeah.
When he was like, I was like, my man.
Yep.
I was like, my man. I looked at his build and I was like,
it might be.
It's going to take more than two of y'all. It's going to take more than two of y'all.
It might be, yeah. Man, we have too much of this. I believe the last I read, there was no. I don't know if he made a criminal complaint. I don't know that he made a complaint about what happened to him, because the last thing I saw, they haven't done anything. I guess I don't know if you can say that there's an investigation. There might be, but I don't believe the guy, the officer whose name has not been released, I don't believe he has faced any punishment or anything like that. I don't even think he's on administrative leave.
To me, that was much worse than what Officer Smiley did.
Because he actually put his hands on
He actually put his hands on someone. Actually attempted to arrest someone.
Yep. You cannot roll up on somebody, especially on private property, and demand that they identify themselves. If this is part of a traffic stop, then you can. Yes, the law is clear. Yeah. You can ask them for identification, and the driver has to provide identification. You roll up on my property, on my home, on my residence, and demand that I provide identification?
The burden of proof is much higher on your part.
Right. That's not constitutional.
Or the burden of justification is much higher.
No, he didn't have to do that, and there's no way you should be that he should have been able to put his hands on him and been like, well, I think it's you. I think it's you, so you're going to hit me up?
You know what? I don't even think the officer cared. Because you get somebody back to the station, they're already in the system. I think that was the purpose. That was definitely the purpose. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong dude, but hey, now that's something that's going to be kind of on your record. Hey, I was pulled off my own property and taken in. Like that does put like a stigma on you, even when you're not guilty.
Look, man.
And I have history with cops putting their hands on me. You know what I'm saying?
He was outside, okay? He was playing with his kids. This officer was accosting him while his kids were watching, So that's one thing. Like, if I put myself in his shoes and I know that my kids are right there and they're seeing this and this guy has no right to put his hands on me. I know it's because of what I look like. I know it's because my skin is dark complexion. I really wonder how I would have behaved in that situation, like how animated I would have been. I can call back. There was a situation I remember back in the day, man. I don't think you even know about this. When I first moved here, I believe maybe it was a couple years after. This was either 5th grade or 6th grade. I was at the skating rink, and I had got you know those machines where you has the grabber and you can get a stuffed animal or something like that.
Yeah. You just use the grabber and it's like it's like that's your prize if you get it out. Yeah.
Got one of those.
Like it's like a 1 in 100 chance of winning.
So I got one of those right at the skating rink. There was an older white girl that claimed that it was hers. I was like, the hell it is? What the hell are you talking about, right? Nah, get out of my way, right? So I keep walking.
How you mean would claim that it was hers? Like
she said it was hers.
Wait a second. You put your token or your coin in and you...
She didn't see me get it. She saw me walking around with it. Claimed that it was hers. Was very adamant that it was hers. I was like, all right, this conversation is pointless because this is mine. She grabbed me. No, actually, she grabbed me on my wrist right here. Would not let me go. Now, this was somebody that was older. At the time, I was probably about 11 years old. This girl had to be at least 14, 15, something like that, right? So I literally could not get away because she was stronger. I couldn't get away. I had a friend with me. I don't even remember who it was, but he was trying to pull me off of her and everything. This lasted for minutes, right? So after minutes of not being able to get away from this chick, the only thing that I was thinking in my head was, okay, I have one more option.
I have to hurt this woman.
I'm about to yammer right in the face because you're not going to hold on to me anymore. But there were a couple things going through my head. First of all, in this area back then, I'm a black guy. Yeah. This is a white girl, right? There's not even a lot of us black people in this skating rink.
At that time, it was like...
Yes.
A very tiny amount of black people in this.
That's one of the things. Another thing is I'm a boy, there's a girl. You know, like there's a lot of things that were going on in my head. But I remember being like, it was, I wasn't crying or anything, but it was like emotionally, eternally, like this chick is actually stopping my progress. She has me where I'm not free. You know what I'm saying? And I can't get away from her. So like when I even go back to that, I'm like, I should have punched her. I really should have punched her because you're not just going to like imprison me off some bullshit. So just thinking forward to this time where I'm an adult and my kids are watching and this dude has me. I'm telling you, man.
I have noticed the older I get, the less patience I have. And I'm not designed to be in certain situations and remain calm. Like you have seen before.
Yes.
In some of my interactions with cops who are harassing me.
Edgy. I'm a bit edgy.
What?
A little edgy, dog.
Just a little? Just a little edgy?
Yeah. Off the jump. Off the jump, man. But look, especially the last one. See, I didn't see what you saw. Like we were together and the guy was following you.
Yeah.
See, I didn't see that because I was in the passenger seat. I didn't notice that he was following you. So your initial reaction was like, you know what I'm like, okay, hold up. Why is dude being like so aggressive? Because I didn't know at that point why he had stopped us and anything like that. But that, like I said, that was warranted your reaction once I fully understood.
Yeah, and he tried to lie about it.
Yes.
And there was other circumstances that kind of made me pessimistic about him following us in general, because I don't think it was a coincidence. Because at that time we were in Jersey,
right?
That was during the Democratic National Convention.
Yep.
It was cheaper to stay in Jersey, obviously, so we would drive over.
Yep.
But yeah, like I guess I was seeing things holistically.
Yeah.
And like converging in that moment. I just don't think it was a coincidence that we were at the Wawa. We went to the Wawa, right, and got some sandwiches.
Yep.
And we were sitting in the parking lot and we were eating in our car. There was I believe it was a Ford Explorer patrol car, 2 parking spaces over, who parked next to us. You see 2 black males in a car munching on food. What's the first thing people think? Oh, these niggas high as hell. We leave, right? And all of a sudden we get down the road. And all of a sudden, there's another Jersey officer sitting in some parking lot. Yep. As soon as we pass, I see the spotlight go on. And then he starts following us, and the spotlight is on the entire time. And so I was like, oh, I know what the hell this is about. Somebody must have told, be on the lookout for these 2 in a car. And they're probably most likely high because they was chomping real hard on them sandwiches.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I swear I have so many like situations imprinted in my conscious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to interactions, you know, and you know, you mentioned what would you have done, or what do you think you would have done in a situation like that with your kids present? And it's like, to me, that leads to another question in and of itself. Your kids are present, so how do you think they will perceive police officers now?
Yep, exactly. Because this is a when you are talking about a situation as extreme as this, where there's a police officer that has their hands on daddy, that is not letting daddy go. Daddy is upset. Clearly, visibly, he's upset. Like that can be traumatic for a kid. And just like if it's me, you're in taking everything at that moment in time. You're taking in that somebody has me that should not have me. I don't care if you're a police officer or what. Somebody has their hands on me and is trying to make me put my... I mean, you shouldn't even be here on my property. You don't have a warrant. You have no reasonable suspicion. You don't have anything. Like, if you actually thought it was me, you would do some research. You would actually conclude that it is me before you ever put a hand on me. But that's not what happened. I like I said, I'm scared to even think of like what I would have done in that situation, because it would have been a lot to actually contain yourself and not act, man. I probably wouldn't have struck him, but it would have took a lot, man.
Usually
I commend him for not striking him.
Yeah. Usually that has never been my reaction. I aggressively disengage.
True.
I guess, because I do remember that.
I seen that. I seen that.
Get off me. I aggressively disengage. I've never, like, you know, I guess, exhibited body language of somebody that was going to go on the attack. But I was like the other time there was a few times where cops have grabbed me just out of nowhere. And I'm just like, man, like, you better get off me, you know what I'm saying? Just like, basically not complying.
For me, it's like to be held onto when you know you shouldn't be held onto by somebody who you don't know, has no right to be on your property, has no right to be touching you. For that to be occurring and you can't get yourself free of this person, that's too much for me. I'm serious. That's way too much. I seriously don't know that I can just like internalize it and be like, okay, this is gonna end at some point. I don't know, man. I really don't know. That's something, like I said, that I'm not sure I could take, man. But I do commend him for, you know, of course he was visibly upset, and justifiably so, but I commend him for not like striking this officer. I seriously don't know if I could have done it. I don't know. To be held captive, because that's what that was. To be held captive on your own damn property too, in front of your kids, in front of your wife. You have done nothing wrong. You have no warrant. You see, sans the warrant, this is, you know, we're talking about that situation. If you have a warrant, then I'm going to comply. I'm going to be pissed off. But I'm going to say, okay, well, you have this. Well, shit, I'm going to have to go through this process and prove my innocence or whatever. But you don't even have any justifiable reason to put your hands on.
You don't even have the legal grounds, the legal paperwork
not
to
at
even
all
be there. So
nobody has authorized you to put your hands on.
At that point, I'm just like, see, now I do feel like I'm being attacked. Now I do feel like,
and if you're being attacked,
I feel like I'm being kidnapped. And see, and here, like at that point in my mind, I don't care if you have a uniform on.
That's right.
I've always like been very fortunate for myself that I did not find myself in a position to defend someone who was being abused by a cop. Because there's sometimes when I see a video where I'm just like, just watching it.
Watching.
But see, just watching it, I'm just like, I'm literally like the blood is boiling.
I know.
And I'm just watching it. So
and people are on the scene watching them.
And I'm just like, yo, I'm glad I'm not there because I will probably get myself killed, or I might kill that cop because their uniform doesn't matter at that point.
Right.
They become a human being attacking another human being.
Exactly. They are the assailant in that situation.
They're the assailant, and I feel the need to protect human life.
That's right.
At that point.
That's right. No matter if there's a badge or not. That's why we have to address these issues. And that is the reason why criminal justice reform is so important to talk about. Because if we don't do something about this, situations like this are going to keep occurring. And this dude could have lost his life. If he responded in a different way, he could have lost his life. And I believe even the comments he made afterwards, I think he said something like, yeah, I understand how black men can get shot by police when, because of these encounters. Got to do something about it, man.
And see, it's like, I just don't like the different response people have, especially when it comes to black people being harassed and their constitutional rights being violated. When you're talking about, homosexuals and gun lovers.
I was just going to go there.
And how they express their patriotism and their dissatisfaction or their grievance with the government is very boisterous. Their chests are poked out.
Oh, yes.
And they, utter statements like, don't tread on me. The tree of liberty is, drenched with the blood of tyrants. They leave out tyrants and patriots because they don't want to die. They leave that part out. But it's very boisterous. Right? Like, you're not going to violate my rights and I can do whatever I want to protect those rights. But when it comes to minorities, there's always this knee-jerk response.
Yep. Comply.
To comply.
No matter what.
No matter what.
If an officer is giving you a command, whether it is lawful or not.
Government is benevolent.
Yes.
At that point. And we need to comply at all times, no matter if our rights are being violated or if our lives are being threatened.
Actually, the command is always lawful because it is coming from a police officer, which is got to do something about this, man. Straight up. So we're going to look, we've been talking about this since 2016 when we first started doing this show. The conversation has to continue. I know people don't want to hear it. And that is evidenced by the whole reaction, the negative reaction to the kneeling by NFL players, by Colin Kaepernick and others.
How people demonize Black Lives Matter.
That's right. All over the country. They don't want to have that conversation. They changed it into something else. They don't want to have that conversation. It's a tough conversation. It shouldn't be a tough conversation because all of us are patriots, right? All of us want this country to prosper and succeed. All of us want justice, equality, liberty. We all want these things, right?
We don't want our ability to move about the country to be inhibited by, I guess, abusive authority.
So if we see situations that doesn't stand up to that standard, shouldn't we say something about it? Shouldn't we all say something about it? And wouldn't that be the most patriotic thing to do?
But see, it's not about patriotism. It's about control, man.
Yep. All right, so we're going to open up the phone lines so that we can hear from you. The number to call in is 800. Nope. I'm way off.
Yo, it was like, yo.
I'm way. I think I was thinking about the 900. And I said 800. I was like, whoa.
You were like, yo, I started off completely wrong.
Whoa. No. All right. So the number is 669.
See, when you skip a show, you skip a show.
I know, man. Throws it all off balance, man. 669-900-6833. I had to look for the whole number this time. But yes, if you do have a question or comment, we would love to hear from you. It can be about anything that we have talked about on this program, another program, something that we have not addressed. Like I said, we would just love to hear your questions and comments. So let's get to it. Yeah, man. As I keep thinking, though, somebody having their hand on me, nah, man. You got to get off it, man. If you don't get off, and maybe that, like I said, that does go back to that earlier incident when I was like 11 years old, man. I immediately thought of that when I saw that video. If you have your hand on me and you won't let go,
and like I don't think people understand like what kind of advice they're giving when they talk about, oh, just comply and go with it. I'm like, oh, so you want me to go to jail and have to maybe stay overnight or over a weekend, and then go through some sort of hearing. You know what I'm saying, where to determine whether I get have to pay bail, or whether I get out on my own recognizance.
I should have to go through that burden.
I should have to go through that burden.
When I constitutionally should not. Like, this officer exceeded his authority. Overstepped his authority. But I should have to go through that just because there's a person with a badge on his chest. The process will all play itself. It will work itself out. If you're innocent, but it'll work itself out. How many people? Over 1,000 people sitting in Louisiana jails without ever coming up for a trial because they can't make the bail, they can't make the bond?
One thing I'll try to resist doing more is replying to stupid comments and ridiculously irrational comments in the chat because they're not even worthy of argument. I'm not even going to say who is making these arguments, because I don't even want to give it, any attention. But I'm going to do better for myself and the show to not bog the show itself down, or the program down, with trying to answer ridiculous and irrational questions. Because even sometimes the question itself shows that you're not even capable of having a legitimate conversation. So anything that I offer, as far as commentary-wise or answer to the question, would not matter. So I'm just gonna let everybody know that's watching the show and that's in the chat and commenting, I'm gonna try to do a better job of not even addressing dumb shit.
Because we do see a lot of dumb shit from time to time.
Because some people they just love just having that boot all right there.
Well,
man.
In some cases.
Some people just love it. Or they love
they're very hypocritical.
Certain people having, or they love, to see authority, having their boot on certain people's necks and then not caring about it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's very hypocritical because in some issues, or on some issues, they're like, justice, we must fight for justice. No, we must retain our constitutional rights. But then, like you said, when it's about police, if police are involved, man, they get just blanket immunity. They're always right. Just do what they say. Just do what they say. Comply. No matter if it's a lawful order or not, just comply. If they're violating your constitutional rights, it's okay. Just comply.
I can't remember. I don't think you were involved in this conversation on social media with me, because sometimes we'll be kind of tag teaming the conversation. We'll be involved in the same conversation. I don't think you were involved in this conversation, but I think I shared a screenshot of this conversation. And the conversation I was having with this individual exposed this glaring contradiction. And I was just like, did she seriously just say that? I can't remember the nature of the video we were commenting under, but I do think it had to do with police brutality.
I think I remembered it, but the case I can't remember.
And she said something like,
it was in the comments, they were all supportive of police, right?
And she was like, we should worry about, we shouldn't be demonizing police and, making their jobs harder. We shouldn't be talking about police brutality. We should be talking about fixing this corrupt government. And I was just like, wait, let me look. I'm like, wait a second. Let me look and see. I was like, let me type into Google. Is the police department a government institution? Is the police? It says yes. Google just says, hell yeah, it is, dude. Yeah. So I'm like, did you realize the contradiction in there, or the disconnect between that, in that sentiment? No, we shouldn't be talking about police brutality. We should be talking about government corruption. And I'm like, is the government. It's the government.
Obviously, government corruption has to look only a particular certain way. Yeah, like it can't be in the form of police misconduct.
Don't tread on me only applies to Congress. Only applies to Congress.
We can call our elected representatives
or state legislators too.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we can call them corrupt. We can call them, just puppets. We can do all that. We can say that we need reform in that area, but not policing. Not policing. Like you said, benevolent figures. They are always doing the right thing, looking out for us. What's the motto again? Protect and serve. Protect and serve. Yeah.
Protect and serve.
Where was the protecting and serving for Saeed Atkinson? Or for
Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland.
Eric Garner.
Yeah. I was just talking about these two recent
ones. Yeah,
listen,
I'll go down the list.
Yeah. Oh, there's too many. There's way too many. Way too many.
Trayvon Martin. What's the kid in Cleveland? Tamir Rice. The dude who got shot in the back in the BART station.
Oh gosh, yeah. What was it? Is it well, not him, but in Cleveland, was it John Edwards?
John Edwards. Yeah. The one who was coming from, was that the one who was coming from the party? Was the one who was coming from the party, and the cop shot him through the
oh, I can't remember.
In the back of the head, through the back windshield.
What was that guy?
John Edwards was the one in Walmart, right?
Yeah, I don't think that was his name though, was it? It wasn't John Edwards. John Crawford.
That's right,
John Crawford.
Yeah. I think Edwards was maybe the other guy.
Maybe.
The other kid.
All right, so we have a couple of calls. Did you see which one was first?
I did not see which one was first because they just popped up so quick.
All right. So let's go to the first one that is on the list, and that's from the 267 area code. All right, caller, you are on the air live with LTMB. We
sure can.
Who is this calling? All right, Phil, what's going on, man?
Oh, Phil from Philly. How are you doing this week? Are you in good spirits, my 76er? Are you in good spirits, my 76er? Hey, man, what you got for us tonight? What you got for us tonight, man?
Oh, well, hold on, Phil. Hold on, Phil. We got some audio problems here, real quick. Hold on. Let me make sure. All right, this is exactly
the exact same setup.
Yeah, the exact same setup here.
So they can still hear us.
Yeah. Can't hear the caller. Okay. Nothing has changed. No, they can't hear you. All right, I know I can't press that because if I press that,
then they won't be able to hear.
Yeah, there's going to be that feedback.
Or that feedback.
There's going to be that feedback. All right, this usually gets it done. Let me see. I'm trying to think of if anything is different here. You're unmuted. We can hear you.
Unmuted. You're unmuted.
I promise you, we're gonna hear.
Yeah, no, yeah, we unmuted you.
I don't hear any feedback, which is weird. All right, can everybody hear Phil now?
Say something, Phil.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear calls. So even with
no, it's not your call. No, it's not your call. It's I want to say all right, that's clicked. That's clicked. That's clicked. Obviously this should not be clicked. And we can Phil, you still there? All right, so we can still hear you. The only thing I can but I don't know why that would matter. You remember we had to switch the speakers right at the beginning? That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, I'm not sure because we can hear you now, so I don't think that
it says Phil sounds like a scratchy sound. Barely. Nope.
Okay, well all right, so this is up.
Yeah, everything is pretty much the settings are the same as what we've always had them. Yeah. All the system audio is up.
All right, oh, I can hear that. That's weird.
He says try, somebody in the chat says try another call just to see. So we can actually confirm whether it's yeah, I know.
But
we
it's
know,
not,
it's
I'm gonna, all right. Give us just about 30 seconds or so. We're gonna pause this and come back on because we gotta reload this real quick.
Maybe this was in Zoom. Maybe it's within Zoom.
Let me see. Zoom. All right, let me see. All right, where's the other one at?
The green or in the green? The green with the green thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. There we go. But see, I unmuted them. I unmuted it. See, this is all about our audio. Select speaker, same system. I don't think we've ever. Yeah, this is about our audio, so that's I'm not even gonna mess with that. I'm gonna get off this for a second. I'm gonna